She successfully won over 5 men, but her ending was anything but happy. The first male lead, Turixi, was a tyrannical emperor plagued by extreme paranoia. If the female lead, Prishepe, even got a little too close to other men, he would fly into a rage. He'd stab the other man to death right in front of her. The second male lead was the Duke of the North, Noah. He was a crazed collector. As soon as he lost interest in Prishepe, he would toss her into a warehouse like an object and leave her to rot. The third male lead was the Archmage, Ivan. His possessiveness was so extreme that in order to lock her by his side, he drove himself mad trying to control her consciousness. The fourth male lead was the Knight Commander, Jik. Because Prishepe was so beautiful, she was desired by many men. To prevent this, he took out a bottle of poison. If you drink this, we can be together forever. But instead, he gently started to feed it to her from his own lips. In the end, however, he fed all the poison to himself, because only in death can one escape being desired by others. The fifth male lead, Atal, was the prince of a neighboring country, with striking pink hair and an innocent face. In reality, he was a complete wolf in sheep's clothing. You see, Prishepe had been playing a newly released game called Goddess Simulator. After being single for 20 years, she had hoped to find a taste of love in the game, but after playing, she was convinced she would never believe in love again. Furious, she uninstalled the game and prepared for bed. But unexpectedly, while she was sound asleep, her monitor suddenly emitted a blinding light. She woke up with a gasp. She had somehow been transported into the very game she was playing. The thought made Prishepe's blood run cold. She knew that she had gone through hell and high water to successfully capture the 5 male leads and max out their affection levels. She couldn't even count how many times she had been tormented and abused. And now, she was there in person. She couldn't even imagine the hellish life that awaited her. But just then, a game information box suddenly popped up. You have successfully captured all male leads. Initiating secret mode. You can now pursue the true male lead. In disbelief, Prishepe stared at the message. This was a storyline she had never encountered before. Suddenly, Prishepe seemed to realize something. If she could capture the true male lead, she might be able to return to reality. So, she agreed to the game's request without hesitation. However, the system remained silent. It simply teleported her to the starting location. Then, someone called out to her from behind. Prishepe understood instantly. She was back in a place she had experienced countless times. And hearing that same annoying voice, the person approaching was a palace maid. She pushed the door open without even a greeting, and her tone towards Prishepe was harsh. This was because Emperor Turixi had ordered the maid to bring Prishepe to him. And he was the first target she had to capture. He was also the one who threw her into the cold palace and then ran a sword through her heart. At that moment, the maid's patience was reaching its limit. If Prishepe delayed any longer, she would be the one punished. And so, she arrived at the palace's main hall. In truth, the story of the 3 of them was forged in their childhood. The Turixi of the past was a sickly and introverted prince. Although he was the eldest son, the emperor actually favored the second prince, born to a concubine. To make matters worse, the empress passed away from illness. This left him all alone with no one to rely on. Just when all hope was lost, a pair of warm, soft hands reached out to him. It was Prishepe, who was the same age. She was the child of a low-status woman in the harem, so despite being a princess, she received none of her father's love. The 2 lonely children quickly grew close. From then on, Turixi realized he couldn't live without her. She had become an indispensable part of his life. However, the good times didn't last. Prishepe was tied up and taken to the palace. It turned out she had been discovered to not be of royal blood at all. At the same time, when Turixi went to Prishepe's room to find her, he found that she had completely vanished. What he didn't know was, Prishepe never had a chance to tell him what had happened. The only thing he could know was that Zaipe left him for the second prince. Years later, after Talishi seized the throne by force, his first act was to hunt down and slaughter all of the second prince's forces. His second act was to capture Zaipe and lock her away permanently in the palace's high tower. In short, this was her history with the male lead. Texi's feelings for her were a tangled mix of love and hate. At the time, Zaipe had wanted to explain, but she found that aside from the lines set by the system, she couldn't utter any other words. She looked at Texi's favorability score, 0. Then, 3 option boxes appeared before her. In the past, Zaipe always chose option 1. But this time, she didn't want him to like her too much from the start. It wasn't like she was trying to win him over, anyway. But just then, a 4th, golden option suddenly appeared. Zaipe instantly broke out in a cold sweat, because this one was shockingly insulting. At that moment, she was completely baffled. Had the system bugged out? Although she didn't know what was going on, she still chose option number 3, the one she'd originally intended to pick. Your voice doesn't sound right. You used to tell me how you'd often catch a cold during this season as a child, right? I'm just a little worried about you. But in the next second, Talishi violently grabbed a handful of Zaipe's hair. You have the nerve to worry about me? I would never believe such words coming from your mouth. Had she chosen the wrong answer? But unexpectedly, a system notification followed. His favorability had actually risen to 5 points. Then, with a sweep of his arm, Talishi threw her to the ground. This left Xipe completely stunned. How could an option like that increase his score by so much? Texi's eyes grew moist. You were the one who betrayed me. Are you trying to win my affection with these little tricks now? His fists couldn't help but clench a little tighter. However, tomorrow was the celebration banquet for Texi's ascension to the throne. It was also the first fixed event in the game, where the 3 male leads would all make an appearance. And since some people at this banquet knew of Xipe's existence, Talishi felt it would be more appropriate for her to attend as well. As soon as he finished speaking, 4 options popped up again. If she wanted to raise his favorability, she should choose option 2 or 3. But for someone who wanted to imprison her, he surely wouldn't want her to attend. As for the contents of the golden option daring to choose, that would undoubtedly be a death sentence. So, Xipe chose option 1, which she had never picked before. She wanted to attend, too. But to Xipe's surprise, he actually agreed to her request. Hearing this answer, Xipe was baffled. According to the original plot, Talishi should have ruthlessly thrown her out. Suddenly, the game prompt popped up again. It informed her that she was now in secret mode, which was vastly different from the normal mode she had played before. Although she could attend the banquet this time, Talishi told Xipe not to waste her efforts, because the ending wouldn't change. With that, he had her thrown out of the palace. At this moment, Xipe's mind was in a turmoil. She now understood that this was completely different from the previous storyline. Lost in thought, Xipe wasn't paying attention and tripped, falling to the ground. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching. When she looked up at the person, Xipe's pupils widened in terror. The person approaching was none other than the prince of the Yatale Dominion. Then, 4 options appeared again. But what surprised Xipe was that, according to the original setting, she wasn't supposed to meet him until the day of the banquet. Just then, Yatale extended his hands. He actually helped her put on her shoe himself. This scene reminded Xipe of a past experience. In the past, he had treated her like a dog. As she recalled the past, her body couldn't help but tremble. Xipe just wanted to pick a random option and get away from him as quickly as possible. But just then, if a choice is not made within the time limit, the game will restart. Terrified, Xipe scrambled backward, but her finger accidentally touched the golden option. Miss, are you alright? If it were you, do you think everything would be fine? The sudden words not only left Atal stunned where he stood, but Xipe was also baffled, because whenever she chose an option, she would carry it out involuntarily. She quickly explained that she had misspoken. Suddenly, Xipe's thoughts paused. She could actually speak freely. She knew that before, she could only say the preset options in the game. So, she tore her own dress with both hands, only to find that it didn't repair itself. If this were like before, it would have immediately returned to its original state. Noticing her rather strange behavior, Atal reached out, preparing to send her back to rest. But Xipe subconsciously slapped his hand away, apologized, and left in a panic. He gazed at her gradually receding figure, the left hand that Xipe had pushed away, and the scene from earlier when he put on her shoes. Atal's hand couldn't help but clench into a fist. He had just ordered a very sturdy iron chain. A chilling look gradually crept into his eyes. Now it can finally be put to use. The next second, a sharp, stabbing pain shot through his head. A scene that had not yet happened materialized in his mind. Meanwhile, Xipe had just returned to her bedroom. She looked at the dress she had torn. It still hadn't been restored. Still shaken, she thought of something even more dangerous. Could it be that the system can no longer save? The only reason she could be so bold all this time was because she could save her data. Now that she was here in person, what would happen if she died? At this thought, Xipe shouted, trying to save her progress. However, the only response she got was that this function was unavailable in Secret Realm mode. In reality, this was a high-stakes gamble with absolutely no way out. The goal was for Xipe to risk her life to find the true male lead, win him over, and then escape from this place. But right now, she didn't even know who he was. At this moment, she fell into a state of panic. Suddenly, a message popped up again. In Secret Realm mode, she was given an event diary. You can view records from normal mode, and information on new characters appearing in Secret Realm mode would also be recorded. If that was the case, she couldn't wait to find out more about the true male lead. But to her disappointment, she found that she couldn't view unknown information. Time flew by in an instant. Today was the day of the congratulatory banquet. Xipe carefully dressed up in a red gown. Watching the guests come and go, she thought that with a bit of luck, she might be able to find a real male lead. But to her disappointment, none of these people showed a favorability meter. It seemed her plan had failed. But there was no more time to waste. Due to the game's settings, she began to be controlled by the system and was moved to the next chapter, forcibly taken to the garden outside the palace. And this was the most important part of this scenario. First, she would meet Atal, and they would introduce themselves. Then, on the way back, she would encounter Noah. Finally, Tracy would order the Knight Commander, Jik, to escort her back to the tower. However, Xipe knew in her heart that the ending might have already been rewritten. As expected, the moment she turned around, the first one to arrive was actually Noah. After they exchanged simple greetings, Noah began to praise her, saying how beautiful she looked today. But Xipe knew that he was just a maniac who liked to collect beautiful things. Although she thought this inwardly, on the surface, she still greeted him with a smile. In Noah's eyes, among all the people coming and going in the palace, you are a one-of-a-kind existence, and I happen to adore beautiful things, which is why I'm paying more attention to you. After a round of compliments, he invited Xipe to take a walk with him. At that crucial moment, a voice from the side interrupted their conversation. It was Prince Atal. He very directly pushed Noah aside. I will be escorting Xipe back. You may leave. A sinister look crept into Noah's eyes. His actions had also infuriated Atal. A mere nobleman dares to defy my orders? Get out of my sight, now. After that furious roar, Noah didn't dare to overstep. He bowed and tactfully took his leave. But then, the most crucial moment arrived. Atal turned back to look at her. He had something to say, and asked with great confusion. Have we met somewhere before? Hearing this, Hip froze on the spot. Seeing Hip's bewildered reaction, it seemed he already had his answer. The splitting headache he'd had earlier had caused him to see flashes of hallucinations. It seemed it was all real. After all, the iron chains he had prepared. He hadn't even used them yet. So why would they appear on you? He tried to ask her just who she was. But what shocked Hip even more was, how could he remember things that were supposed to happen in the future? And another thing besides being able to speak freely with Atal. His every word and action were no longer that of a game character who could only speak fixed lines. To be precise, he was like a person who had gained self-awareness. After a long while, Hip still hadn't answered his question. Atal was losing his patience. He grabbed her by the arm. If I do what I remember from my memories, maybe then you'll give me an answer. He then took out the iron chains. He was about to use them on her. In a panic, Hip struggled with all her might. She slapped him hard across the face. Before he could react, she turned and fled. Watching her disappear into the distance, Atal wasn't worried. After all, there was no way she could escape his grasp. But just then, a man suddenly appeared behind him. He walked towards Atal, one step at a time. By the time Atal turned around, his life was frozen forever in that moment. Meanwhile, Hip, panting for breath, ran to the side. She realized things were getting more and more absurd. If Atal had broken free from the system's control and gained self-awareness, then maybe the other 4 male leads could have the same thing happen to them. What's more, without being able to save her progress, the more Hip thought about it, the more terrified she became. Just then, a cry of alarm shattered Hip's thoughts. A soldier on the ground screamed in terror. It turned out Atal had been murdered, with his own iron chains hung around his neck. Staring at the scene, Hip was horrified. Male lead number 5 was dead, just like that? This had completely deviated from the game's plot. Just then, Trissy also rushed over. He frowned slightly and ordered his soldiers to immediately lock down all palace exits, and to investigate all the attending guests. He turned his head and asked Hip why she was here. Hip was so frightened her mind went blank. She didn't answer him. This enraged Trissy. A soldier at the side quickly tried to explain. Miss Hip must be in shock. Trissy snapped his head around, glaring coldly at the soldier. Was I talking to you? The trembling soldier didn't dare say another word. At that critical moment, a man suddenly walked over. He urged Emperor Trissy to calm his anger. Hip looked at this person, confused. His name was Panrik. He said he sensed something was wrong in the garden and came over, apologizing to Trissy. I've arrived late. Besides, Prince Atal's personal guard is also looking for him. He requested that it would be best for Trissy to meet with them first. After all, they couldn't be allowed to see the prince in this state. Trissy frowned slightly. What he said was indeed true. So he ordered his men to have the Knight Commander, Zeke, stand by for orders. As for Hip, he had Panrik escort her back to the tower. Remember, you must confirm that she is actually inside before you come back to see me. Having received the order, Panlik turned to Xipe. We can go now. As they walked one after the other, Panlik tried to reassure her. You must have been very frightened. This was likely the work of an assassin. After all, a crowded place like this is the perfect setting for an assassination. But luckily, Yatale is only the 4th prince. He's not involved in the struggle for the throne, so the Taiyan Empire most likely won't get into a conflict with our country over him. So you don't need to worry too much about it. But Xipe's mind was elsewhere. She wasn't hearing a word he said. This was the first time she'd ever seen this person. Could he be an NPC from a hidden scenario? More importantly, why didn't he even have a favorability meter? Without one, does that mean he's just a side character? I mean, he was unrealistically handsome. While she was lost in thought, she lost her balance and fell right into Panlik's arms. He quickly asked, Are you alright? Xipe, embarrassed, replied, Thank you. When she came to her senses, something felt wrong. Why can I speak on my own? Even if he's a side character, the game's dialogue options didn't even pop up. Filled with curiosity, Xipe tried asking, Have we met before? Panlik explained that this was likely their first meeting, and that he was a trusted confidant of Emperor Talishi. He had been away fighting on the border. Hearing this information, Xipe thought, well, since I have no intention of pursuing Talishi anymore, I probably won't see his confidant again. To her surprise, Panlik suddenly spoke up. From now on, you will learn many more things. And we will be seeing each other often. Very soon. Panlik escorted her to the tower. Once back in her room, Xipe hurriedly opened her status screen. She discovered that Prince Yutale had completely vanished, as if he had never existed at all. But everyone else was still there. So, she decided to look up information on Panlik. Unfortunately, the search came up with, no such person found. How could this be? Is it just because he's an insignificant side character? She then searched for the maid's information, and it appeared normally. A cold sweat broke out on her face as panic set in. Then who is he? Especially what he said earlier that he would make me know more things in the future. This entire storyline, and this situation she couldn't control, plunged Xipe into a deep sense of fear. She had been forced into a goddess simulator game, but she never expected every single male lead to be completely unhinged. Not a single one of them was sane. They tormented her to no end. It was like living in hell on earth. The protagonist wanted to return to the real world from the game. The only way was to capture the heart of the true male lead. There were no other hints. She didn't even know what the male lead looked like. She was consumed by fear of the future. And so, she drifted off to sleep. When she opened her eyes again, she saw a familiar room. Was she dreaming? Or was she hallucinating? To her shock, the computer screen was on. Displayed on it was the very game she had been playing. She frantically unplugged the power cord. What is this? Being transported into a game. How could something so absurd possibly happen? She thought. Then, she walked towards the bathroom. This can't be. I can't be Xipe. What is my real name? Why can't I remember it? A voice said, Prexipe. You're not going anywhere, not ever. Xipe's eyes shot open. Talishi, who had called her name, was looking at her nervously. She looked around, so her room from just now was only a dream. Triss's brows suddenly knitted together, because Xipe's tears were already soaking her clothes. Her vacant eyes had lost their former light. Triss gripped her shoulders forcefully. Wipe your tears and get up. I still have questions for you. What were you and Atale doing in the garden yesterday? With that, a game prompt popped up. And this time, there were 3 golden frames. Seeing them, Xipe no longer felt her previous surprise. Even if she forced herself to choose one of these options, it didn't matter. Her heart was already dead. So, she chose the third option. Tell the truth. With her head lowered, she confessed. I originally went to the garden to clear my head, but I was caught by Noah. But then Prince Atale suddenly appeared and drove Noah away. He was about to do something strange to me. I got nervous and slapped him. Then I ran away. What kind of strange thing, exactly? Tell me everything, word for word. That iron chain he was wearing around his neck. He was originally planning to use it on me. Not long after I escaped, I heard the news that Prince Atale had died. And at that very moment, Triss's affinity level changed to a question mark. That was it. This was the result of choosing the golden option for him, and it meant that from now on, no more options would appear when she faced him. So does that mean Triss has regained his memories, too? Even the memory of killing me? Triss asked her sternly. You're not lying, are you? Xipe quickly nodded in response. Then Triss turned away. You had better not be. Because I will be asking Noah what happened myself. Just as he was about to leave the room, he paused again and said, to think you were capable of slapping a man. That was something I never expected. After all, you've always been so meek and submissive around me. Hearing this, Xipe was utterly confused. It was as if we were a couple having a spat. After he left, she lowered her head again, recalling the dream from before. What on earth is going on? As for my name, I remember. It's Li Juyan. No, that's not right. Something feels wrong. My last memory is playing a game. But before that, what was I doing? Why can't I remember anything? My memories of reality are a complete blank. Meanwhile, in another room, Panrik paid a visit to No's mansion. It made No's expression very tense, even though he was here to investigate the cause of Prince Atale's death. 10 minutes had passed, and Panrik just kept drinking his tea without saying a word. To ease the awkwardness, Noah spoke first, attempting to make small talk. He even said, I've heard a thing or two about your exploits. Hearing this, Panrik set down his teacup and let out a cold sneer. Is that so? The rumors about me usually aren't very good. I'm very curious to know what you've heard. Panrik's gaze was cold and sharp. No's heart froze. All he knew was that on the battlefield, Panrik was a cold, ruthless killing machine. Despite being born a commoner, he dared to disregard the nobility in the royal family. He showed absolutely no mercy, and they all became spirits under his blade. Like a monster, Noah quickly tried to explain, that just proves how superb your swordsmanship is. I didn't mean it in a bad way. Panrik waved his hand dismissively. Let's end the pleasantries. Now, I'm going to ask you about Prince Atale. Noah explained, I already told Emperor Trish all the details that day. I ran into Psyche and Prince Atal in the garden, and then I left before they did. Panrik had a nonchalant look on his face. Oh, is that so? But there's something else that's strange. It seems Atal and Psyche knew each other from before? They said it was an arranged meeting, but Psyche has been confined in the high tower for years. She shouldn't know anyone. Noah thought it over and over. I get the feeling that something must have happened between them before. Hearing this, Panrik's eyes gradually grew cold. Are you implying Psyche is connected to Atal's death? No, I was just making a random guess, that's all. This must have been the work of an assassin. After he said that, the room felt unusually quiet. A moment later, Panrik, having finished his investigation, got up to leave. But he turned his head and suddenly asked, I hear that you, Duke, have quite an expertise in collecting art? Panrik seemed genuinely interested, and I myself have been looking for a kindred spirit with a refined taste. A kindred spirit? Noah was puzzled. Panrik explained, as you can see, I don't often socialize with the other nobles. So I was hoping to take this opportunity to have a proper chat with you. Noah's mind began to race. Recently, his family had been gradually excluded from the royal family's inner circle. He was feeling resentful about it, and now Emperor Trish's own confidant wanted to approach him personally. To him, this was an incredibly rare opportunity. He quickly agreed. Seizing the moment, he invited Panrik to see his art collection. A moment later, Noah pushed open the warehouse doors. A dazzling array of all kinds of high-end items came into view, and he began to chatter on, introducing his treasures to Panrik. This monster carving, in particular, was his most prized collection. Panrik was looking around, observing something. He asked, Are you often here alone? Noah explained, Usually there are other maids, but I have them go home in the afternoon. After all, it would be a disaster if a clumsy maid broke one of my collectibles. So, whenever I'm not home, I don't let them in. Besides, starting tomorrow afternoon, the maids will be on leave for a few days. I'll be home alone during that time. Hearing this, Panrik stroked a sofa. If something were to happen to you right now, Duke, no one would know until tomorrow morning, would they? Noah's heart jumped in alarm. What do you mean by that? A slight smirk played on Panrik's lips. It was just a little joke. What I mean is, with so many rare treasures in here, you might attract the attention of thieves. So you need to be careful. Relieved, Noah continued to introduce the various collectibles in the warehouse. That is, until Panrik looked at the main door, and an impossible scene materialized before his eyes. You are so beautiful, precious. It makes me want to turn you into a specimen, to preserve you forever. No, don't. Let me out. Please, I'm begging you, let me out. If the female lead's previous experience was suffering all kinds of insane abuse from the male leads, then now that she herself has been pulled into the game, the plot is completely different. That's because a shadowy figure has been silently eliminating every potential threat for her. 2 of the 5 male leads have already been disposed of, but Psyche, the female lead, is completely unaware of this, still worrying about where the story is headed next. Right after the celebratory banquet, the remnants of the former prince's faction, who had been exiled by Trixie, were arrested once again. However, a letter was discovered on them, and when Trixie read its contents, an inexplicable rage surged within him, and he immediately had Shippei brought to the palace for questioning. He flew into a rage, demanding to know about the letter, all because it mentioned that on the anniversary of his mother's death, Trixie would go to her grave to mourn. This was an extremely private matter. Besides Trixie himself, Shippei was the only one who would be with him. But Shippei had no idea how the former prince's faction could have known this. As a result, she was thrown into prison over the matter. So, Shippei was in her room, agonizing over what to do next. But she had already looked into every possible solution she could think of. She hadn't found any particularly useful information. Then, at a critical moment, something caught her eye. A church she had never seen before appeared in her search. She was about to look into it more closely, when a maid suddenly interrupted her, announcing, Someone is here to see you. The visitor was none other than Panrik. He had come to tell her that the royal guards were returning to the Taiyan Empire with the body of Prince Atal. The matter would end there and wouldn't escalate any further. As for who was responsible, that was never found out. Oh, is that so? Did you come all this way just to tell me that? If you want more details, I've already told Trixie everything. Seeing that she had finished speaking, Panrik simply took a sip of his tea and then looked intently at the cup. This tea, is it a favorite of yours, Shippei? Shippei's face flushed red. It was a very cheap blend of tea. Certainly not something suited for a nobleman's palate. But to her surprise, Panrik said, The aroma is wonderful. I like it very much. Shippei tilted her head, staring at him in a daze. He then continued, In a few days, there will be a festival in the city center. The streets will be lined with flags, and merchants from all over will gather. With the beautiful music and the petal-strewn banners, it will be quite a sight to behold. I think you would enjoy it, Miss Shippei. Hearing this, a flicker of anticipation sparked within her. But it was quickly overshadowed by disappointment, and she subconsciously clutched her dress. After all, there was no way for her to leave this place. Panrik looked at her gently. Well, that's not necessarily true. If life could only follow a set path, wouldn't it be dreadfully boring? Meanwhile, Noah had just pushed open the warehouse door. He was stunned to see a taxidermy griffin displayed in the center of the room. He glanced around, wondering who could have sent it. After all, no one he knew would send him such a valuable collector's item. No, wait. An idea came to him. Could it have been a gift from Grand Duke Panrik? It seemed there was no other possibility. The corner of Noah's mouth curled into a smirk. I didn't think he'd have such good taste, despite his low birth. And he even included a lit candle. Noah couldn't help but feel smug. Panrik is quite the romantic, isn't he? He's all right in my book. Growing more excited by the second, he reveled in the wonderful atmosphere. Little did he know, as the candle burned beside the specimen, strange smoke began to fill the entire warehouse. He was completely unaware that death was closing in. The next second, the griffin's eyes snapped open. The next morning, a maid questioned Shippei, clearly annoyed. It was because she wanted to visit the church. After all, the next chapter was about to begin. And if she didn't go now, she might not get another chance. She had to hurry there and see if there were any clues. It's no use, Shippei explained. If I want to leave this place, I have to get Emperor Trixie's permission. It's only a 10-minute walk from here. Besides, I'm only going to pray for His Majesty's health. Or you could come with me. At this, the maid fell into thought. Should she let Shippei go by herself, or should they go together? Which of the two was less dangerous? Soon, she had her answer. You can go by yourself, but remember, stay for just a moment and come right back. And with that, she rushed to the church entrance. No one was around, which was perfect. It would be a huge problem if someone saw her and told Trissa. But just as she pushed open the main doors, a figure was blocking the entrance. Startled, Shippei yelped and fell to the ground. Before she even opened her eyes, she cried out, I didn't run away. I'll go back right now. Please don't tell Trissa. When no one answered, she opened her eyes. The person before her wasn't dressed like a priest from the church. He had a chiseled face, golden hair, and eyes that seemed to hold a galaxy of stars. He was as breathtakingly handsome as Panrik. Their eyes met. Shippei froze on the spot. Suddenly, the man extended a hand. Yes, he wants to help me up. So Shippei confidently reached out her own hand. But the man simply walked right past her. Shippei was instantly mortified. Would it kill you to help me up? She turned, got up by herself, and dusted off her clothes. It wasn't until she looked into the church hall that she saw the scene of utter devastation before her. Broken stone statues were everywhere. Shippei looked around, taking it all in. What in the world happened here? Then, she picked up a stone fragment with text carved into it. The text contained the words Demon King. In order to find out what it meant, Shippei opened her game window to check. It said that aside from being text from the statues in the palace church, the rest was garbled. It was because the statues had been destroyed. So, the game had bugged out. And just at that moment, a figure emerged from within, clutching his head with both hands. He stared at Shippei in anguish. What have you done? To explain, she told the priest that this was her first time here. Besides, she had no reason to destroy the statues. But how could the priest believe a few simple words? After all, you're the only one at the scene. So, Shippei told him about the man she had run into when she first arrived. He wasn't dressed like someone from the church, and he wasn't carrying a sword. All I know is that he had golden hair and eyes as blue as the sea. If what you're saying is true, I will have the royal guard investigate. However, since you're here, there are some things I must ask. He proceeded to ask what the statues originally were. The priest explained, these are scenes from our empire's mythology. In ancient times, there was an ominous entity in the western part of the continent. She brought disease and war. Humanity tried to eliminate it, but tens of thousands of soldiers died tragically without being able to succeed. Until, one day, a beacon of hope for humanity appeared. Wielding a golden holy sword, he put an end to this calamity. As for that disastrous entity, people came to call him the Demon King. Just as the priest finished speaking, the maid came rushing over. She said hesitantly, Trissa has suddenly fallen ill. His head started hurting badly last night, and today he can't get out of bed. Could it be because he recovered his memories? At the critical moment, Panrik suddenly appeared from behind. He first greeted Xipe, then glared at the priest. The maid had informed him about what happened at the church. Even if you have to investigate, you can't keep her here for this long. Besides, if you want to know what happened, you should have questioned the soldiers guarding outside the church first. Not interrogate an innocent person. Is it because she is Miss Xipe that you dare to be so brazen? Staring at Panrik, who was standing up for her, Xipe was deeply moved. Faced with his sharp words, the priest lowered his head. And Panrik had his maid stay behind to complete the investigation. Let's go. I'll take you back. Xipe quickly thanked him, because no one has ever helped me. In the palace, everyone just mocks me for being a deposed princess. You're the first person to ever speak up for me. After saying this, Xipe secretly glanced at him. Did I say too much? It seems you're much more relaxed around me now. Not long ago when we met, you were so nervous you couldn't even look at me. Panrik's lips curved into a slight smile. But, I prefer the way you are now. As for what happened today, you don't need to worry. Even if Talishi finds out, he won't allow you to be punished. But in Xipe's eyes, Talishi was an extremely suspicious person. There was no way he would let her off so easily. Panrik could see she didn't quite believe him. Then let's make a bet. If you really get punished over this, then I lose. If not, you lose. And the loser has to grant the winner one wish. Xipe hesitated. Anyway, my imprisonment is about to begin. And Panrik is just an NPC related to Talishi. We probably won't have any more interactions. I might as well just agree to it. Panrik also smiled happily. And it's a deal. You must remember this bet. In this insane world, he was the only one. Who was the kindest to the female lead? Inside the oppressive tower, she, locked in a cage, gazed down at the resilient and powerful figure below. The play of light and shadow outlined a physique like a Greek statue, the epitome of walking testosterone. Sadly, this was the last time they would ever meet. Xipe's eyes revealed endless reluctance. Shackled and in chains, she powerlessly bowed her head to her predetermined fate. Because next, she had to face the volatile Emperor Talishi, right until the moment she perished. Only then would his emotions stabilize. Talishi jolted awake from his bed. He'd had the same nightmare all day. In the dream, Xipe was locked in a prison cell. Since seeing her yesterday, he couldn't even remember how many times he had dreamed of her. Talishi clenched his fists, reassuring himself that he would definitely not do such a thing. But his subconscious questioned him, would I really not do that? Maybe that's what I truly want. However, when he recalled the Xipe in his dream, the image of her desperately begging for mercy, he was trapped in a vicious cycle again. Just then, a soldier came rushing in to report. This afternoon, a strange person broke into the church and destroyed all the statues. However, the first witness was Miss Xipe. She went there to pray for your health. However, the ever-suspicious Talishi didn't think so. Could she be connected to that strange person? The soldier quickly explained that wasn't what he meant. Teresi then thought of another problem, saying it was just like when Hip was a child. She left without saying goodbye. The reason she destroyed the church's stone statue. Was it also to cause a commotion? Then, he remembered the image of Hip begging him for mercy. Right, I must be getting paranoid again. But just as he calmed down, his composure was completely shattered by a soldier handing him an envelope. He couldn't stop thinking about the Hip from his dream, who said she hadn't betrayed him. How ironic it seemed now. He couldn't help but crumple the envelope tightly in his hand. Soon, a maid rushed to inform her. Emperor Teresi wishes to see you. Yes, the next chapter was about to begin. This familiar scene, the same old story. Hip, having been through this countless times, felt nothing but numbness. Teresi suddenly spoke. It seems I've underestimated you all this time. Even when locked in the high tower, you still found a way to contact others. Unexpectedly, this time Hip's numbness turned to nervousness. Because the game-like prompts and options were all gone. How was she supposed to answer his question? This time, I'll just say it outright. At least for once. I don't want to be punished for a crime I didn't commit. She explained that she hadn't spread any rumors, let alone conspired with anyone. To Teresi, her words sounded utterly ridiculous. You lowly creature. But Hip roared back. What I'm saying is the truth. Besides, I have no way of getting out. The only person I can even talk to is the maid in the tower. How could I possibly do something like that? Teresi gripped the imperial throne in anger. You're still spouting nonsense. Just at that critical moment, Panrik interrupted their conversation. A maid followed behind him, trembling and unable to stand still. What brings you here? You don't need to get involved in this. That's not it, Your Majesty. Please, listen to me. I've brought the real culprit. She is the one who conspired with the rebels. Back when I was investigating the incident at the church, I went to the maid's quarters searching for answers and discovered a letter that had been hidden for a long time. What's more, it was written in code. It seems she has been in contact with the rebels for a very long time. She volunteered to be Lady Hip's handmaiden to get close to you, Your Majesty, and gather intelligence. Panrik's analysis left both of them completely stunned. Not only that, but Noah also died strangely at home. When he was found, his body was covered in marks from a beast's attack. Teresi shot to his feet. How could there be a beast in the capital? Who would believe such a thing? Indeed, Panrik also agreed it was impossible. First, there was the case of Prince Atal being murdered in the palace. Then the nobleman Noah dying in the capital. And Your Majesty, you must have also heard. That Lady Hip met a strange person at the church. Don't you find all of this to be quite a coincidence? She happens to be at the center of all these events. And on top of that, there's a matter of the spy maid by her side. Therefore, he boldly suggested that Hip was being targeted. But behind his back, Panrik's hands were tapping lightly. His mind was constantly thinking, crafting the perfect plan of lies. Although Hip had narrowly escaped this time, There was no guarantee there wouldn't be trouble next time. Panrik dared to make a suggestion. Let Lady Hip temporarily move out of the Imperial Palace. Teresi fell into a brief moment of thought. In the end, however, he refused. If all of this is true, then I disagree even more. Because in the entire Atello Empire, the safest place is the Imperial Palace. But Panrik didn't think so. Even the safest place has hidden dangers. After all, that monster still hasn't shown themselves. So, until the truth comes to light, temporarily letting Miss Hesper leave the palace to hide is the best course of action. Teclis gripped the Imperial throne tightly. She cannot leave. This is the only place that's truly safe. However, his heart and mind were at odds. Those things that happened in his dream. Could he guarantee he wouldn't do them? Even now, he was still suspicious of Hesper. Just then, Panrik spoke, interrupting his thoughts. He said that he had a private residence on the outskirts of the capital where Hesper could stay for now. They could monitor the situation in the palace from there, and besides, he had sworn loyalty to His Majesty even before he took the throne. I should be more trustworthy than anyone. Teclis had to agree with that. Panrik was indeed the person who had helped him the most in his ascension to the throne. But even so, word got out that Hesper was locked in a tower her entire life because of a curse. And that she had destroyed the statue. The people would surely think that she was a witch manipulating the Emperor from the shadows. At that point, the situation would probably be impossible to resolve. Weighing his options, Teclis was caught in a dilemma. Hesper, on the other hand, was very confused. Isn't he Teclis's confidant? Why is he speaking up for me? A moment later, Teclis called out to Hesper. He asked her, what do you want to do? Do you want to leave the palace? Can I really leave? But if I really do leave the tower, I probably won't be able to use the game's hints anymore. And I know absolutely nothing about the world outside the palace. It's an unknown challenge, but even if the outside is full of dangers, it has to be much better than what's about to happen here, right? There was only one reason. She had to live. So she stood up straight and, with unwavering resolve, said those few words. The world is a vast place. I want to go and see it. Even a flower locked in a cage has a day it will bloom. After a full 14 chapters of build-up, she finally welcomed her own spring. It also lived up to the manga's title, Fresh Outside the Cage. Because from this day forward, she would have the happiest days of her life. She had broken free from the tower that had long oppressed her, and from the palace that kept her constantly on edge. That's right, Teclis had reluctantly agreed to Panrik's suggestion. Hesper's residence would be moved outside the palace. Panrik let out a long sigh of relief. Hesper was even more astonished. As for the maid, she was to be thrown into the Imperial dungeon and severely interrogated. Until she gave up information on the traitors. Let's go. Watching them walk further and further away, Teclis called out to Hesper, his dejected eyes filled with exhaustion. It was as if he had aged several years. Don't you have anything to say to me? I misunderstood you, didn't I? Hesper lowered her gaze slightly, thinking to herself, at this point, is there really any need to clear up the misunderstanding? She stated lightly, please don't say that. I shall take my leave now. A warm ray of sunlight shone straight down, illuminating the carriage traveling down the road, accompanied by the sound of clopping hooves. This was her first time leaving the palace. She gazed at the scenery outside the window. Her amethyst eyes shone with a dazzling light, whether in the noisy market, or smelling the sweet scent of food wafting through the air, or hearing the beautiful sounds from the street. She was filled with curiosity for everything. Her long-suppressed heart had finally awakened to the girl she was always meant to be at her age. Panlike knocked on the window, signaling the coachman to slow down. He said it was because he could see how happy Sipe was at that moment, and ordered, go as slow as you possibly can. Time flew by, and they finally arrived at their destination. Looking at the scene before her, Sipe's eyes widened in shock. This magnificent mansion before my eyes, you told me it was a simple room? It's 100 times more beautiful than the Imperial Palace. Even as she stepped through the door, Sipe was still looking all around her, when Panlike said, starting today, I will increase the staff 5-fold to ensure your safety for the rest of your life. But Sipe's mind was wandering. His words went in one ear and out the other as she bounced around, observing everything in the room. Until the moment she opened her suitcase and looked at the vase in her hands. Sipe placed it on the windowsill, and Panlike grew tense. Did you bring this? Panlike asked, then quickly explained that it was an original item from the mansion. Although Sipe was surprised, she didn't expose his lie. This vase held a special meaning for her. Whenever she felt hopeless, just looking at it gave her the will to live on. Is that so? Oh, I see. Panlike then reached out to comfort her, and just as his hand was about to touch her shoulder, he pulled it back. Would you like to see the garden? Many rare and precious treasures are planted there. If you find any you like, you can pick them to put in the vase. The garden? Does that mean you like flowers too, Duke Panlike? Me? I don't dislike them, but I don't particularly like them, either. However, all those gardeners were hired on short notice. It took quite a bit of effort, yes. She didn't know that Panlike had already realized she liked flowers back in her room at the tower. Let's go. I'll show you the other areas. As the sun began to set, The evening sunlight shone into the room, and Sight drifted off to sleep. She's sleeping so soundly, it seems she's finally able to relax. So he left the room and ordered the maids that no one was to enter and disturb Miss Sight's rest. My long wait was not in vain. I finally brought her here. All my long-standing efforts have finally yielded a satisfying result. Just then, a voice from behind made Pan-like pause. This mansion seems to be newly built. Looks like you've gone to a lot of trouble. The scent of flowers is everywhere. It's truly unbearable, don't you think? Pan-like did not respond. He just stood his ground. You even went out of your way to find a griffin. That couldn't have been an easy task, could it? HMPH. In this empire, there is nothing I cannot obtain. Is that so? Just like that woman? However, it seems a certain big shot has already started to meddle in this affair. The Grand Magus of the royal family. He's probably already on his way to No's mansion to investigate. It shouldn't be long before he discovers the cause of No's death. Are you getting anxious? It doesn't matter. My methods are subtle. I'm not worried at all. You, on the other hand, should explain to me why you destroyed the Grand Hall. You're just adding a burden to my plans. But the man retorted, isn't this better? Thanks to this, there's one more reason for Shippei to leave the palace. Don't make such a big fuss. I'm helping you. Isn't everything going according to your plan right now? The next second, the magic circle on the floor. The man suddenly disappeared from the room. Left standing there, Penric was lost in thought. That devious bastard, he's impossible to figure out. What if I kill all of them, leaving myself as the only one Shippei can choose? The magician, Evan, arrived at the Noah mansion to investigate. An apprentice reported that he had found No's body. I know, I'm sure it's disgusting. I'm not looking, said the apprentice, his face filled with fear. It seems Noah was attacked by a wild beast. There isn't a single part of his body that's intact. But what's strange is, how could a wild beast be roaming the center of the capital? And there are no signs that a thief or robber broke into the room. Evan looked from side to side. It seems he was paid back by these specimens of his. But just then, he noticed a burnt-out candle in the distance. A sinister laugh escaped Evan. The answer is in this candle. The next day, Shippei slowly opened her eyes. She sat up in bed. When she came to her senses, she remembered that this was Penric's house. Shippei took a deep breath. This wasn't a dream. I've really left the palace. And at that moment, she discovered that the game's system was, of course, no longer working. The only thing left that works is this book of memories, but it can only record things that have already happened. I still can't find out the true male lead's name. So, she looked toward the windowsill and was surprised to see a vase filled with flowers. Soft pink and yellow chrysanthemums were shimmering brightly. Strange. Why are there flowers in the vase? That's right, Penric must have put them here. And just then, a figure appeared from behind. Hello, Miss Shippei. My name is Hannah. From now on, I will be serving you. If you need anything in the future, please feel free to ask me at any time. The unexpected kindness left Shippei at a loss. Compared to her previous maids, it was like night and day. Did you sleep well last night? I specially selected this velvet duvet, you know. Still not quite used to it, Shippei said it was very comfortable. She quickly expressed her thanks. Miss Shippei, you don't need to be so formal with me. Now, how about I prepare a meal for you? The next second, Hannah hugged Shippei tightly. She didn't know why, but for some reason, seeing Miss Shippei felt both familiar and endearing. She had absolutely no intention of letting go. At the same time, inside the Magic Tower, north of the Atero Imperial Palace, was male lead number 4, Knight Commander Jike. And Penric was there too. The master of this place was none other than the great magician, Evan. He had invited the two of them here to discuss the 2 bizarre murder cases that had occurred in the palace. Well, this is just great. 2 of the 5 male leads were already eliminated, and with male lead number 1, Trice, in the palace. The remaining number 3 and number 4 were both here. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If Penric wasn't going to make a move now, when would he? A perfectly proportioned body, with the defined lines of an 8-pack. He had half a tree tattooed on his body, with every single leaf signifying a heart-wrenching pain. Every time the female lead died, he would tattoo another leaf. To remind himself that he must never forget this love for a princess born into the imperial family. A destitute little boy begging on the streets. The 2 of them should have never crossed paths. But because of the girl's kind gesture, she saved a boy who was about to starve to death. When the boy grew up, he made a silent vow in his heart. In this life, I will be the one to protect her. But now, the 2 people in this room are the very ones who will harm Hip in the future. So, should Penric make a move now? It turns out the magician, Yibin, had discovered a nearly burnt-out candle in the deceased No's room. This candle was made with a magical herb. When brewed and consumed by humans, it induces a state akin to suspended animation. However, for monsters, not only can it awaken them, but it can also temporarily bring them back from the dead. Therefore, Yibin suspected that someone had deliberately plotted against Noah. And more importantly, this herb only grows in the Forbidden Forest, which is also a major den for monsters. Commander of the Knights, you often go there on expeditions. You must be quite familiar with it, right? Yes. If that's the case, then the culprit's identity is no ordinary one. To be able to obtain a monster specimen from such a treacherous forest, this person must be incredibly powerful. Yiban's investigation could only go this far. The rest is up to you, Commander of the Knights, to pursue. Suddenly, the commander called out to Panrik. I heard that Lady Hip encountered a strange person. It seems our first priority should be to investigate that person. Besides, from what I know, Teresi has been heartbroken ever since Hip left the Imperial Palace. At this point, Yiban also asked. After this is all over, Lady Hip will return to the palace, won't she? As the two continued their discussion, a murderous glint appeared in Panrik's eyes. Veins began to bulge on his hands. That doesn't seem to be any of your business, does it? Why are you so curious about that? Panrik said with a dark expression, we don't even know if the intruder is still in the palace. And you're already wondering if she'll come back? His words were a startling wake-up call. You're right. The commander of the knights lowered his head in shame. We should investigate the person in the palace first. Panrik slammed his hand on the table. Report to me immediately if there are any developments in the investigation. With that, he turned and left. On the way back, Panrik was lost in thought. Although he had anticipated it, it was just as he had expected. Even though he had already brought Hip out of the palace early. To prevent them from seeing her, they were still instinctively drawn to Hip. It was as if some invisible force was pulling them. But they had forgotten everything they had done, leaving only Hip, with all those memories, to suffer alone in this endlessly repeating fate. Just how much longer must this torment last before it finally lets her go? I have to nip all of this in the bud. Time passed quickly. Panrik returned to his residence. He stared blankly at the scene before him. Her beautiful figure made all the flowers in the garden seem dull in comparison. Her black and red attire seemed to symbolize her once dark and gloomy past. As Hip reached out to touch a flower, Panrik's mind flashed back to his childhood. Even though her own arm was bruised black and blue, she had still tried to pull him up. She's clearly the one who needs to be cared for the most, he thought, watching Zaipei's actions. Panrik lowered his gaze, his heart aching with immense pain. So, after composing himself, he called out to Zaipei. Are you pleased with this mansion? It's a wonderful place. So wonderful, she thought, that I let my guard down completely. So much so that you slept until noon. Is that right? Then I'm relieved. There are still many places in the mansion we haven't seen yet. Like the library, the wardrobe, and all sorts of jewels. I'm sure you'll be pleased. Zaipei was a little overwhelmed by his enthusiasm. She felt that all of this was far too extravagant for her. I've never been treated like this, not even in the palace. Panrik, your kindness towards me, and the maid, Hannah's, affection for me, I feel like I have nothing at all to offer in return. No, that's not necessary. As long as you are happy here, that is the greatest reward for us. Is that really so? I've never felt that I deserved to be treated like this. No, you are worthy. Perhaps to you, Miss Zaipei, it was just a small thing. So you don't remember it. But it's possible that because of a small act of kindness from you, someone was able to survive. Hearing this, Zaipei was completely bewildered. Could it be that Grand Duke Panrik had a similar experience? Yes. The truth is, I was born a commoner. I don't even know who my parents were. I survived by begging every day, never knowing where my next meal would come from. I just assumed I would starve to death on the streets sooner or later. That is, until the year I turned 13. Something happened that changed my life. So that's how it was. I always thought that as a nobleman, Grand Duke Panrik was someone completely out of reach. Zaipei said with a smile, after such a difficult past. You still persevered and achieved everything you have today. That's really amazing. However, what Zaipei didn't know was his thought. If it weren't for you, I would have never escaped that dark alley. Back in her room, Zaipei recalled how Panrik had been acting unusually in the garden. No, this isn't the time to be thinking about that. I have to start investigating. In this game, on the last day, the day of choice, I'll have to select one of the male leads to finish the journey with. The crucial part is that his affection level must reach 100%. If any part of it goes wrong, it will all end in tragedy. But I still don't even know who the true male lead is. I have to find him as soon as possible, no matter what. But at that moment, there was something she had overlooked. If the male lead isn't someone from the palace, then the only possible clues left are in the early game tutorial. The story covers the time from when the original Zaipei was 10 until she turned 15. It was all explained there. It's just that I could only see the tutorial once. When I first arrived here, as I recall, on the day my mother was to be executed, when I was 15. My mother seemed to tell me her last words. But just as she was about to speak, I couldn't remember anything at all. If the true male lead is someone from outside the palace, there's no way I can find him on my own. Wait, there's one other person who might be able to help me. And with that, she went to Panrik's room. Next moment, she let out a gasp. The man before her was bare-chested, his bronzed skin stretching over firm, sculpted muscles. Startled, Zaipei stammered, I'm sorry. I'll come back later. But as she turned to leave, Panlake reached out and caught the door before it could close. It's alright, you can come in. Did you need something, Miss Saipe? I was hoping I could borrow a map. Pan paused for a moment. A map? Ah, yes. You see, I was locked away in a high tower before. So I'm curious about the outside world. Ah, I see. In that case, I'll take you to get one tomorrow morning. It was then that Saipe suddenly noticed the intricate patterns on his bare chest. Pan explained, it's a tree. I tattooed every single leaf myself. Whenever something painful happens I add another leaf. Yes, it's all because of her. Saipe's eyes were captivated by the design. It's truly beautiful. Suddenly, Pan called out to her. He slowly drew closer. I have a favor to ask of you. And so it happened. Through a bet, Saipe and Pan had their very first date. Do you remember our bet? Since I won and got you out of the palace, I'd like you to grant my wish. I'll come for you tonight. The maid, Hannah, had stars in her eyes. She was completely overwhelmed with choices. This elegant, light blue dress. It's just too beautiful. The floor was littered with dresses that had just been tried on. Then again, every single one looks wonderful on you, Miss Saipe. Just then, Pan arrived. Honestly, Hannah, are you trying to wear Miss Saipe out before we even leave? Hannah gave an embarrassed laugh. Pan gaze softened as he looked at Saipe. Just as I imagined, it looks perfect on you. Shall we go, then? To get to their destination faster, Pan chose to ride a horse instead of taking a carriage. You'd better hold on tight, Miss Saipe. To the rhythm of galloping hooves, they sped through the night. Before long, they arrived at their destination. The air was filled with noise and the bustle of a large crowd. So this was Grand Duke Pan wish? That's right. I wanted to bring you to the festival. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And with that, Pan took her hand. It's too crowded here. I'm afraid I'll lose you in the blink of an eye. Let me show you around. Wow, what a beautiful flower crown. This is my first time trying this. She hadn't felt this happy in so long. Her heart was overflowing with joy. Then, Pan gently led her by the hand again. Let's go over there. Her face instantly flushed a deep red. How strange before. Any physical contact in this game would only disgust me. So why is this making my heart flutter? As for Panrik, who knows how badly he wanted to draw his sword and kill those other male leads to protect those delicate hands. But at the time, Saipe could only stand aside, powerlessly watching everything unfold. Soon, they arrived at their final destination, an altar where one could make a wish to the festival god. Saipe offered the flowers in her hand. She prayed fervently, hoping that as Yi Ju Yin, she could return to the real world. What did she wish for? Did she wish not to be killed again? Yes, that must be it. Don't worry, no matter what it takes, I will stop at nothing to help you achieve it. Let's go. Today ended perfectly. As the two walked further away from the altar, a figure quietly appeared. He snatched the flowers Saipe had offered. A wish? I don't even have to think to know what you wished for. You must have wished to leave this place, right? No, your wish will never come true. Because you can never escape from here. The next morning, Panrik brought Saipe to the study. You can find anything you want to learn about in here. And here's a map of the Atello Empire. It's just what you wanted. Take your time. I have to go now. I've been urgently summoned to the palace, so I must leave. However, no sooner had Panrik left than the magician, Yibin, suddenly appeared from behind her. Why him? According to the plot, it's not his time to show up yet. Immediately after, 3 ridiculous golden option boxes popped up, putting Saipe in a dilemma. Rather than slapping him, she felt splashing tea all over him was a better idea. A maid who had just run over gasped, covering her mouth. He dripped down his hair. At that moment, Yibon's affection level turned into a question mark. Saipe claimed her hand slipped. Is that so? It felt like you did that on purpose. I never expected you to have such an aggressive side. I came to talk to you about something today. Maids, you may leave. Saipe refused outright. I have nothing to say to you. What if it's about your mother, Miss Saipe? Have you changed your mind now? However, Saipe knew all too well how terrifying Yibin had been. With just a casual manipulation of his magic, he could cut a nearby noblewoman's arm. To him, toying with women was the easiest thing in the world. The next second, he grabbed Saipe's arm. Do you want me to kill that woman who humiliated you? All you have to do is cry and beg me. I can do far worse things. This was the memory Saipe least wanted to recall. Yibin was the most dangerous of all the male leads. Since he was already here, she asked what he wanted to say. Do you know about the Forbidden Forest? Everyone knows it's a stronghold for magical beasts, but in the villages near the forest, there are hybrids of beasts and humans. They are the children born from their love with humans. As for your mother, before she entered the palace, her residence was right near that forest. What? Could it be that my mother is a magical beast? Sir Magician, I'm just an ordinary human. Your imagination is running wild. Yibin showed a wicked smile. He lifted a strand of Saipe's hair. I know Panrik brought you out of the palace to protect you. But if we're talking about the safest place, it would be with me. What are you trying to do? Haha, mutation of a magical beast would be a great research subject. Xipe hurriedly pushed him away. Ivan stroked his chin. If you want to know more about your mother in the Forbidden Forest, then you can come find me. And so, Ivan left with a swagger. Looks like things are getting more interesting. But he had barely taken a few steps when a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Hello, Grand Mage. Who is it? How dare you trespass into another's home while the master is away? I don't know what you're talking about. I was just investigating this murder case. Don't get any funny ideas. If you dare take one more step, is enough for me to have killed countless people to get to where I am today. Panting heavily, Ivan couldn't help but clench his jaw. You've got a lot of nerve. I am the Grand Mage of the royal family. By what right would you kill me? Right? I can figure that out after I'm done with you. The moment he said that, Ivan was furious. Do you really think you can threaten me? He pressed his palm to the ground, gathering a massive amount of magic, and a powerful magic circle appeared with him at its center. I'll use my unique magic to drive you completely mad. In the next moment, Ivan's eyes suddenly shot wide open as his magic began to rapidly weaken. The man before him, Pan-like, was cloaked in a layer of dark magic, a violent magical energy several times more powerful than his own. It was constantly overflowing from his body. Who in the world are you? Ha, I was going to have to kill you eventually anyway. Might as well be now. But just as he was about to strike. Hello, Grand Mage. Who is it? How dare you trespass into another's home while the master is away? I don't know what you're talking about. I was just investigating this murder case. As the Empire's top mage, he was being ruthlessly ground into the dirt like an ant, even when he fought back with his pride and joy, his magic. The other man's dark magic was simply on another level. As powerful as he was, there were some things he just couldn't fight against. He couldn't even save the woman he loved, and on top of that, he backed a weak prince with no right to the throne. But, after he took the throne, his first order of business was to drag Xipe back to the palace, subjecting her to brutal torture on a whim. He asked himself countless times inside, why did I help a scoundrel like that become emperor? Until, after she died, he found himself back on the battlefield, 2 years in the past. And then, after that, every time Xipe was killed, Pan-like would, time and time again, without fail, return to the past. It was only then that he truly understood. No matter his circumstances, whenever he opened his eyes again, if he found himself back on that battlefield, Pan-like knew. He knew she had died unjustly somewhere once more. So, he took every one of Xipe's deaths, and turned them into leaves, vividly tattooed on his body. As for the 5 male protagonists who pushed her to her doom once they appear, Pan-like's body would freeze as if being controlled, unable to move an inch. The only thing he could do was place a bouquet of flowers in the vase in Sippy's room. It was to comfort her, but everyone has their limits. Pan-like could no longer endure her countless deaths and was determined to keep Sippy by his side. But reality was cruel. Bound by an unknown force, he couldn't move at all. He watched helplessly as she fell into peril time and time again. Until one day, someone gave him the answer. The reason you can't get close to them is because you're an insignificant character. You don't even count as a supporting role. As for this world, it was specifically created to torture and torment her. Do you want to change your current situation? I can tell you how. Kill those male leads. Take the position by her side. You were originally just an error in this world's rules. Sippy has nothing to do with you. But I can help you break the rules of the world. Make them disappear forever, and you'll be able to take that position without any restrictions. See, can I really get close to her? Can I talk to her? Touch her? And can I save her life? So, what do you say? Do you want in on this deal? I will help you make it happen. I will sever the fates of those men. I'll throw them off their destined path and make them feel lost and confused. Once I get rid of them after they've strayed from their set destiny, I can finally take that position. From that day on, Pan-like made up his mind. He would fight against the rules of the world, but it came at a heavy price. However, he didn't regret his choice. The only thing he feared was, if Sippy found out, would she despise me for having hands stained with blood? And for being so obsessive, but even if it came to that, it wouldn't matter anymore. As long as I can be by her side, that's enough. Meanwhile, just as Pan-like was preparing to deal with one of the male leads, his deputy came running over. Pan-like decided not to act for the time being. But Yibin, whose life had just been spared, was unrelenting, trembling with rage. This insult will not go unanswered. And so, upon returning to the magic tower, Yibin began to analyze the situation. Looking across the entire continent, he had never seen magical power comparable to Pan-like's. Only the legendary Demon King was said to have such power, but the thought came and went quickly. There was no mistake that Panlik was human. Instead, Sippy must be of mixed demon blood. That had to be it. Everyone who met her died under mysterious circumstances, and the appearance of monsters in the capital was also because of her. Wait, monsters appearing in the capital? Such a rare event, there must be records about it in the magic tower. Perhaps I can find clues about mixed blood demons. After rummaging through everything, his eyes suddenly lit up. A worn and ancient scroll caught his attention. It turned out to be a book of prophecies, and inside, it held the answer. A way to stop Panlik from staying by Sippy's side. Meanwhile, before dawn, Sippy slowly woke from her dream. She stretched. Ah, that was a good sleep. But to her surprise, Panlik was staring right at her. Sippy's heart suddenly started racing. When did you get here? Panlik quickly stood up. You were sleeping so soundly. So I didn't wake you. But since you're awake, I should probably go. I'm not trying to kick you out or anything. At that, she subconsciously reached out with both hands, firmly grabbing onto Panrik, who was about to leave. Why, you can stay here. It's all right. Panrik froze for a moment, and the two fell into a brief, awkward silence. Then, Panrik spoke. I heard the Grand Mage gave you quite a scare yesterday. It's my fault. I should have strengthened the guards. And no, don't say that. I'm fine. Ship hesitated, wondering whether she should tell him. In the end, she decided to tell him. After she explained everything, so that's what happened. The Grand Mage, just to get you to come to his side, actually said something like that. Ship only mentioned that he could help her find out her mother's identity. She didn't mention the part about being a half-blood. A vein throbbed on Panrik's neck. He gritted his teeth. I should have just killed Ivan right then and there. Then he asked, what will you choose, Miss Ship? Do you want to go to Ivan's side? Seeing her hands clenched nervously, Panrik lowered his head. If she just wants to escape the palace, maybe Ivan really is more useful than me. Because with just one spell, he could easily teleport someone to another country. No, I want to stay here. Grand Duke Panrik and Hannah are here. This is where I can finally get a good night's sleep. Panrik froze, only then remembering that Ship knew everything. He was so love-struck that he'd forgotten everything. Panrik rubbed his hands together happily. That's really wonderful. Oh my gosh, Grand Duke Panrik is smiling like that. Why can't my heart stop pounding? Oh, right. The founding festival is the day after tomorrow. Do you want to go? In his heart, Panrik was completely against the idea. But if he forbade her, how would he be any different from the people who hurt her? Please don't agree to go. Then you won't have to see those people. As for Ship, although she didn't really want to go, there were only a few major royal events. There weren't many opportunities for so many people to gather together. Besides, the real male lead might show up. And since the game's hint system wasn't working anymore, she wanted to go back to the tower to check the system data. So, without hesitation, Ship said she wanted to go. Panrik sighed in resignation. However, will you be going as well, Grand Duke? I'm still a little scared to go by myself. Could you please come with me? Oh, of course. I would go anywhere with you, Miss Ship, even through hell and high water.